Alright, so welcome to Never Shutting Up, where I am literally never shutting up, me and my tiny mic. And I have my tiny mic out today because we're wonderful people, and it's Sunday. And on Sundays, I feel like everyone's just having a good time, and there's a concert behind me, so I have my tiny mic. But I wanted to make a video because I feel like it's really important. I talk about these 7 patterns all the time, and I feel like I needed to be able to give you guys a free resource to be able to understand what they are, because first of all, they're one of those things that's hidden in plain sight, and I really fucking hate that shit. I think that it's super annoying. I don't want shit to be hidden in plain sight. I just want it to be something that's known, because what is the opposite of consciousness? A pattern. A pattern, just a pattern. So I'm going to teach you what the 7 patterns are, and once you see them, you'll never be able to unsee them. But before I dive into this, I really want to explain to you like why this is significant, right? So before the age of 8 years old, you develop all of your patterns, and you learn these from your parents. And this is what your brain automatically goes into when you're not actively thinking, or when you're not doing something new, or doing something that you just haven't done so many times that you've built like the muscle memory for it. So when you don't have muscle memory, you're actively thinking about doing something. When you have the muscle memory, then you actually just go into like this automatic mode where your brain shuts off. Kind of like when you go for a ride in your car and you're like, I don't remember driving here. You've done it so many times. Your brain doesn't have to actively think about it, so it just shuts itself off and lets you go into la la land. I love that sometimes. It is a little scary sometimes, but you always wind up there safe. Knock on plastic chair. Just because I'm superstitious. But okay, let's jump into the 7 patterns. And the reason there are only 7 is because this is the first 7 years of your development of your brain. Now, why 7 years? Because those first 7 years, your brain is in a state called theta. It's the sponge state. It's where you literally take every single solitary thing going on into your brain and you take it as law. You take it as fact. There's no changing that for you. It actually becomes so deeply ingrained that thereafter, whenever you go into 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then your teenage years, you just solidify it by like doing the actions of the pattern, and then you solidify it through your actions. Meaning that, once I get into this, I'll give you like a few examples, but let's go ahead and jump into this. Pattern 1, fear. If you're taught fear at a very young age, then what's going to happen is that you're going to live in fear. For my hypervigilance, my OCDs, my ADHDs, for the love of God, please listen to this. This is fear. Daddy issues, money issues, it's all fear. Scarcity mindset, fear. Most people actually have this as the largest pattern that runs most shit for them. And I like to compare this to being on your deathbed and feeling like you didn't take enough risks in your life. You know why? Because you were scared. On the other side of fear is literally where all your success lies, because nobody becomes successful in their comfort zones. You get successful when you push yourself out of your comfort zone, and you can do things scared. But when fear rules your life, it becomes a pattern that you live in, and this is why you become hypervigilant. This is why you actually get ADHD, is because of the fact that ADHD is not really an issue other than disassociation. You, at such a young age, didn't feel safe in your environment, so the way of creating safety for yourself was going into la la land and creating worlds in your mind and thinking in your brain instead of being in your body. Because if you were in your body, it meant you were unsafe. You did it so many times and so much that eventually what actually wound up happening was that you do it automatically now when your brain does something that you do all the time, like when you get into those patterns. It just automatically switches, and before you know it, you're in the fear pattern. Number 2, shame. Shame is a really big one. This actually dysregulates your nervous system worse than any other, pattern that there is. And the reason why is because shame says that I'm bad. Brene Brown said it best. She's a shame researcher. If you haven't looked at any of her stuff, I really highly recommend that you watch everything and consume all the books that you can from her. that shame is literally in her description as all the horrible things that you say about yourself. Imagine you just walked into a room full of people that you love and they're all saying those things about you. That's what shame feels like. And the truth about shame is that none of it is true, which is really freeing and also very fucking annoying at the same time. I had really bad issues with shame. I got assaulted at a very young age. If you were an assault victim, then you probably have massive amounts of shame, especially bodily shame. Good Lord, trying to take a shit in front of somebody that you don't really know and saying that you even have to go to the bathroom, you'd rather hold it in your ass. And like my grandpa always said, it's always better expressed than inspressed. He used to tell us when we were kids that if we didn't let our sneezes out, our eyeballs would explode. All right, and then on to the third, anxiety. Oh my God, so many people are going to feel this. Anxiety is such a huge thing. You want to know what anxiety is? It's you allowing your imagination to run wild. You have absolutely no boundaries when it comes to reeling your thoughts in. And I'm willing to guess that you don't meditate. You don't, what I like to call, unload the clip. Most people think that meditation is just this very woo-woo thing. No, it's literally unloading the clip. It's the most G shit that you can fucking do for yourself, okay? You have to eventually unload the clip. If you're just loading the fucking magazine all the time, eventually you have to actually shoot the bullets out in order for the gun to work, you know? Maybe that's not the best description, but that's what I call it. That's how I like to call it, okay? And anxiety, I'll give you a great example. You let your imagination run wild, and unfortunately your brain is primed to think in a negative pattern opposed to a positive, because imagination is meant to be a survival tactic. It is meant to be something that, you know, keeps you from getting eaten by a bear or getting washed down a river if, you know, that were to happen, you know, back in the olden days. It's meant to give you the worst case scenario so that you're prepared. I call that doomsday prepping now, because we are so much safer than we used to be when this, you know, came into our brain development thousands of years ago, probably millions of years ago, to be honest with you. And you can't just let your imagination run wild, because it will think the most negative things. If you think the most positive things, which people call being delusional, I live in Delulu world and I really enjoy it there. I don't disassociate with it anymore. That's the difference between delusion and illusion, in my opinion. And then we have grief, which is what I like to call riding two horses with one ass. And yeah, this one's pretty rough for a lot of people. I feel like the best example of grief is really having two emotions that conflict each other at the same exact time and not knowing which one to choose, aka heartbreak. When you're dating somebody that either you broke up with or they broke up with you, you're living in a constant state of grief, because you literally are so, like, you're thinking so black and white in this situation, because on the white side of things, or the light side of things, you're thinking about all of the great times that you had together and all, like, the peak moments. But then on the flip side of it, you're also having flashbacks where you're thinking about how the breakup went down and how everything happened, or like negative moments in your relationship. You're thinking of the shadow side or the black type of thinking, if you were like referring it to it in black and white. So in reality, everything is shades of gray. There is no black and white thinking. You should never be in a black or white thinking. If you are, you believe in the state of illusion, and that's not really sustainable for life. You'll really kind of be unhappy if you do that. It's better to just be in shades of gray, even if it's a really light shade of gray or a really dark shade of gray. And this is how you know, don't live with so much grief. All right, now we have number 5. Number 5 is jealousy. This is particular for my ladies, okay? This is called the stinky shit breath trauma pattern. This is the worst trauma pattern, and the only person that doesn't know that they have it is you. It's so bad. It's literally like talking to somebody that has the most rank ass breath in the entire world, and they're just like talking so close to your face. It's giving like blow breath. Or like cranberry vodka breath. Oh my god, the crypto bro at the bar that just drank like 12 cranberry vodkas and it's like the end of the night and he's just talking so close to your face and you're like, oh my god, your breath smells so bad, I'm gonna die. That's what jealousy is you're consistently talking about someone else for what they're doing when in reality you're just not aware of the fact that you have what they want. And it's a hard realization for a lot of people. If you ever meet really pretty people, like really beautiful people, they always know this at a very young age. They're very aware. And I used to really think that beautiful women were just like really cocky or really condescending. No, they just have a genuine grasp on jealousy because so many people are jealous of the fact that they're beautiful and they want to be beautiful. Rightfully so. I mean, who the fuck wouldn't rather be absolutely beautiful than like ordinary or ugly? And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean that in the sense that you definitely get your foot in the door more. I have pretty privilege. I've used it all my life. I am not ashamed of that anymore. All right, now number 6. This is a big one for most people. It's probably going to hit anybody and everybody that has ever been given a mental health diagnosis, okay? This one is crazy or sanity. This pattern will run you into the floor if you have a mental health diagnosis and someone calls you crazy. It is the nervous system trigger, the subconscious trigger, that tends to send people into oblivion. It really pisses people off when you get called crazy, but it's just a pattern. And it's a pattern that says, I accept the fact that I am crazy, when in reality, you're probably 50-50, 70-25. It doesn't even matter if you're 15-85. I think that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're just as sane as you are crazy most of the time. You need to just be balanced in that. Let your crazy fucking rip, bro, but also be sane in the same sense. You can be balanced, you can have both. You need to let your crazy. Crazy is the seat of innovation. No one that ever innovated anything was in a sane mind. You're really telling me that it's not insane to have literally created the light bulb? Like, come on. Or I think about this all the time, cement. You don't think that it's crazy that one day somebody was like, hey, we should add some water to this and that? I don't know what the invention of cement is, but for some reason that's how I imagine it. Cement. Yeah, anything, anything in innovation is going to be crazy. The seed of creation lives in, or the seed of innovation really is like being in a crazy state of mind. So embrace it. The only time that you ever come crashing down is when someone calls you crazy. Don't let anyone fool you. And then the 7th one is going to be trust or hopelessness. This is for my complex post-traumatic stress disorder babies. Yes, I'm talking to you. And also my medical resistant depression people. You have lost your trust in all faith. You are scared to hope for something different. So you just sit in this state of being distrusting of all things. That's all that it is. And the thing that I want you to realize in like watching this is like, yeah, I make a lot of jokes and like I really have become very lighthearted about this because I want you to realize they're just patterns. And the system that we have built around trying to solve these problems coming up over and over again, like if you can think back to a time when you had a really big blow up or a really big trigger pop up or a really big fight with somebody, I am 100% sure that it falls into one of these categories of something that triggered your nervous system. And then your nervous system responds and you get all shaky and you move into reaction mode. But truly what healing is literally just being able to understand that you can filter any trigger into one of these 7 holes. And then from there you can learn how to respond instead of react. Because the thing that people don't realize is that it's very easy to manipulate somebody that reacts. It's very hard to manipulate somebody that responds. I'm so passionate about my work and about teaching these 7 patterns because of the fact that I think it's fucking bullshit that the mental health care system says that it's all mental. It's not all mental. Your mental health is your mind and your body. It's everything. It's all one system. You are one being. And the more that you get into these patterns and the more that you learn about them and you break them down and you look at them at the root, you're like, holy shit. I watched a documentary yesterday about war veterans on Netflix about Navy SEALs and how they had such bad complex post-traumatic stress disorder that they had for years. They went and did psychedelics in Mexico. And when they did, and they went into these trips, these psychedelic trips, they actually found that it wasn't the war stories that were the things that came up. It was actually their childhoods. And so many of them had said, and I believe it was actually a statement that one of them made at the end of the documentary was, if there were no traumatized people, then there would be no like United States military, Army, Navy SEALs, like no one would go into the force. And I'm not saying that like you need to be traumatized to go into it. I'm just saying that a lot of people are trying to fulfill something by enlisting themselves in the services. A lot of people are trying to work through something. I think it's a great way to do it too, because it's so much discipline and it teaches you how to be so regimented. But when you look at any type of mental disorder, it always comes back to these 7 patterns. You know, even when they were doing the psychedelic trip, they were, you know, you need to respect the medicine that you do. So they were doing the indigenous, you know, ceremony that they do before they take the medicine. And they went to a fire and they wrote down exactly what they wanted to let go of. You know what they all wrote down? At least 1 to 3 of these 7 patterns. You know why? Because they're the basis of your entire emotional well-being. They are your subconscious, they are your nervous system, they are your inner child. And when you heal them, you are no longer healing, you just get to be healed. And that's the fucking coolest part of sitting and watching this video. And I will continue to talk about this until my face turns purple and my heart stops beating. Because I think that with the epidemic of mental health that we have, it's about time that we stop allowing the system to be so complicated and we simplify it so that we can actually get into the woods and make it out the other end. The only way is never around, it's always through. And when you come through, my God, the peace that you find is insane. And I want everyone to have that. So I will see you later. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like to, I actually have a quiz at the end of this that picks out your dominant pattern so that you can take the first steps to healing that literally immediately. All you have to do is take the quiz and immediately it will give you step-by-step instructions and some physical mind-body work that you can do together. It probably takes about 5 to 7 minutes. Videos right there. You can do it again and again and again and again to lessen and lessen the trigger until eventually it doesn't control you anymore. I want to help as many people as possible, so if you know anybody that could benefit from this video, please send it their way. I love you. I mean it. And I'll be never shutting up about all this shit for the rest of my life, so stay tuned.